All right, YouTube, Repo Man 64. I am making this video at 5:25. By the time I get it uploaded and everything else, this guy might be on. Now he's coming on at 7 o'clock. So if it's 7 o'clock, leave this video and go to his. I'll be in the live comments, as well as many others will be. He is an actual preacher. He is uh, a doctor. He is past all of the stuff. And what's nice about an actual preacher that is searching for the return of Jesus, which is rare, it doesn't happen that often. You see a lot of preachers who are not willing to make waves. This guy is. This guy is coming up. Now, I mentioned him in the last video. I was out of it. Wasn't feeling very well. I still might cough, but it's nowhere near as bad. I appreciate all the prayers I see in the comment section. Do believe that helps. I don't really ever ask for anything. Um, Many of you are willing to do that, and I do appreciate that. So let me get into the video. I want to talk about something that his name is Jimmy. His name is Jimmy with, well, I'll show you here in a second. Last days something. But like I said, now if it's 7 o'clock, I'm going to be over in his live. This is recorded. You can watch it anytime. What he came up with absolutely floored me and blew my mind. And I hope he talks about it tonight. He probably won't see this, of course, before he starts his video. But if he's answering questions, this would be a big one because when he said it, and every now and again, I've been studying for a long time, been trying to figure out end times for a very long time, working on a timeline for the last five. This time I worked on for 5 years, but I've had others that I've worked on that just never panned out, and I threw them away. I threw them away because they just didn't make sense, and I went with this beginning of the year to that beginning of the year, and finally settled on what I believe is accurate. And knowing the day, what day it actually is, I don't believe, well, I know it's not a salvational issue. Jesus is our only salvation. Everything else is us trying to figure it out, looking forward to his return. That's what we're doing. That's ultimately what we're doing. We're trying to shake that present. We're bringing our piece of the puzzle. I've said that so many times. I see so many people using it now. It's kind of a proud moment when I see people saying, that we all have a piece of the puzzle, and I believe that firmly. That's why I've always supported other channels. I don't always agree with everything they say, but that's irrelevant because just like this guy, he said something that just floored me, and I'm like, I've never heard this before. And his piece of the puzzle is amazing. I'm going to show you what that piece is, and then hopefully again tonight at 7 o'clock he talks about this. All right, let's get into the pictures. I'm going to show you where we're at now, today. Now, it might have moved to tomorrow because of that extra day we have this year, which we have every 4 years, where February will have 29 days. So I have Moses being born and dying on Adar 7. They mourn Moses for 30 days, and then I believe it takes them 3 days to get up and cross over into the promised land, which will bring us to the exact day that Jesus rode in on the donkey and the colt on March 26th. The timing, again, every single time I find a date or a span of time, it fits perfectly. So when we go from Moses, February 22nd, 21st, we come over here and we land on March 26th, the triumphal entry. That is the same day that the Jews crossed over into the promised land. You see how it all just falls perfectly in place. Now, where we're at right now is I show Moses being born and dying on February 21st, which is accurate. Well, it's Adar 7, but February 21st is not accurate because of the extra day we have this year. So February 22nd. I expect to see something perhaps spectacular, just like October the 7th. Not saying that's the same event that's going to happen, but didn't that blow all of our minds when that in fact happened? And we come back here to October the 7th and we see it on the timeline. Tishri 22, Tishri 23, the day that Mary is clean after 7 days. She has to continue on for 33 more days for a male child. And then Jesus is circumcised also on the last day of Tabernacles. So we have it fitting right in there as to when Israel was attacked. And so we go forward and we're just kind of sitting here waiting. We're just kind of sitting here waiting on the next major event to take place. And so we see February 21st, 22nd, as Moses dying. That was huge. That was huge back then when it happened. They mourned him for 30 days and then 3 days to cross over, again, landing on the triumphant entry of Jesus into Jerusalem on a donkey and a colt. That while they threw palm branches and sang Hosanna in the highest. Now, the next thing we're going to see, Purim always lands on February the 28th, but this year, because it's a leap year, it must land on February the 29th because the cross will always be on March the 30th, always. So 30 days after February the 29th is the cross, and here we are. It is Purim. So somewhere in this span of this 7-day period that we're going to come into tomorrow, now it is nightfall in Israel. It is the 22nd in Israel. So where will this event take place? I don't know. Damascus keeps coming to mind. Will that event be what galvanizes all of us into realizing that this is it? This is actually it. This is actually finally, after all these years of searching, trying to figure all this out, at the end of the day, like I said 100 times, that God is going to be the one to show us. He's not going to share his glory with another. He's going to be the one to fulfill Amos 3:7. All the math and all the calculations and everything was beautiful. It's what we were supposed to do. It's what we were supposed to try to figure out. And that's what we did. And we fulfilled our part too as we watched. Like in Ezekiel, we see an event coming and we warned. And so let me get back into the pictures. All right. So you see where we're at now. We're coming up on February the 22nd. I'm thinking if we go on Purim, if Purim is the day, then I would think that something would occur between today and tomorrow. Where in the world, I don't know. Mr. MB333 has a video of something falling down from space. They don't know what it is. Maybe they do by now. But this thing stayed lit the entire way down, and it was incredible. I'm going to go to that and watch that next. I saw it on Facebook. So February the 29th will be next, and that will be Purim. All right, let's see here. Is this the Jonah warning on Purim? In yet 40 days, God will destroy Nineveh. And what did Nineveh do? They kneeled in sackcloth. They asked for forgiveness. And at the end of the 40 days, God repented. God changed his mind. He decided not to destroy Nineveh. So much so that Nineveh will actually be risen at the end to judge those who would not adhere to this 40 days. They did not bow down in sackcloth. I keep hearing this, God can't change. No, he can't. His salvation plan went into effect the moment Adam and Eve sinned, when he killed those animals and covered them with the skins. God cannot change. He does not change. However, he did move the head of the year. That doesn't mean God changed in any fashion of the mind. As the fact that he moved the head of the year to Rosh Hashanah to March 17th does not mean that God changed. All right, so 40 days, notice 40 days from February the 29th, which is Purim, to April the 8th, when we're going to see that eclipse. That, to me, is absolutely huge, that those 40 days will commence in a week from tomorrow. This I wanted to show you again. There was no seven feasts. There was no the candle, the seven-stick candle. What is it? Seven-stick candle? Menorah, sorry. There was no menorah. There was no seventh feast until he enacted it in Leviticus. This is where he hands down the law. And the very first law he hands down is this now is the head of your year. Does that mean God changed? No, God stays the same. He just moved Rosh Hashanah because he couldn't have, or maybe he didn't want to have two feasts on the same day. Rosh Hashanah used to be where Feast of Trumpets is, but the first thing he did was move Rosh Hashanah to March, and then the Feast of Trumpets he enacts later in Leviticus. So you'll see that in Exodus 12, where he moves the head of the year. Does that mean God changed? No, God didn't change. He simply moved the head of the year. He opened that day up, the seventh month and first day. He opens it up. So now, later on, down in Leviticus, he puts Feast of Trumpets there. He did not move Feast of Trumpets because it didn't exist when he made the head of the year and moved the head of the year back 6 months. Feast of Trumpets did not exist yet because the very first law he handed down was in Exodus 12. I keep wanting to clarify that because I keep hearing people saying, so he moved Feast of Trumpets. No, Feast of Trumpets is not Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah literally means head of the year. And when you read Exodus 12, you will see where it says that this now is the head of your year. It will be the first month of the first of the year, which means in Hebrew, Rosh Hashanah. Then later on in Leviticus 23, he replaces that day where it used to be with a new feast called Feast of Trumpets, which is a 1 day feast. Rosh Hashanah is a 2 day feast. All right. Now, I have a bunch of pictures, not a lot. I wanted to get through this. I mostly wanted to get on here to tell you at 7 o'clock, I'll be in that live, and I hope he talks about what I'm going to show you here that he found, which I just, again, blew my mind, but I'm going to show you here in a second. Now, Jesus loved Martha. Oh, I showed you this before. Jesus loved Martha. Now, Jesus Christ is God Almighty, and he loves Martha, he loves Mary, and he loves Lazarus. When he had heard, therefore, that he was sick, he sat still for 2 days. Now, I got a question. Well, Mary and Martha also loved Jesus loved them, so that means they loved the law. Yes, they did, but they all missed the understanding of Rosh Hashanah moving to March. So when Jesus sat still for 2 days, I believe that the apostles that were there knew what was happening and why he sat still for 2 days, but I don't think just like today, they still will call Rosh Hashanah in September. It is not in September. It's super clear in Exodus 12. It was moved. All right. And then, of course, this is where I found the day of equal parts long before I found this verse, but this verse just confirms that Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours a day? There, in fact, are on March 16th. There always has been. There always will be. There was never, and I'm going to say this very clearly for all of you. I'm in an Enoch study group, and I'm in there talking with them, and and I don't want to discredit anyone who's trying to search, but it's almost like they get this thought in their head and they get stuck on it. Enoch should be in the Bible. No, it shouldn't. It doesn't belong in the Bible. Enoch is a history book. It's important for us to read because Enoch was chosen and taken before the flood. That's important. He lived 365 years. That's important. There's 365 days in a year. As a matter of fact, I believe Patrick over at End Time Watchman, sorry, buddy, End Time Watchman, just discovered that Enoch was actually 365.2422 days, which is exactly how long our year is. And the only reason it's that long is because they wait for the Earth to turn to a certain star, not back to the sun. They went back to the sun to be 24 hours a day, but they go 23 hours and 56 minutes, leaving 4 minutes a day. And when you multiply that by 364, you find your extra day and a quarter. I keep hearing in this Enoch study, oh, the calendar's rough. They can't be. Think about it. Spring happens. How are you going to ignore spring? I see. So the head of the year is going to be in May. What? It's in March. That's when spring begins. It's spring. At least use the equinox. If you don't believe in equilux, at least use the equinox. I mean, come on, let's use some sense. There's no such thing as the year starting in May. It doesn't start in April. It starts in March. If it's not the equinox, I know because on that day there are not 12 hours in a day anywhere on the planet. Tick. She's a ham. She's trying to get on television. Um, so I keep going over that and over that. I'm in this Enoch study group, and they're like, we could be 100 years off. No, we can't. Spring still happened. I don't care how you slice it or dice it. Spring still happened. It still happened in March. That's when spring happens. And so the debate, of course, to me would be, does it happen on March 16th, where there are 12 hours in a day, 12 hours a night, or does it happen on the equinox where the sun crosses over the equator? That's a debate that I could hold with just about anyone, and I could show how the equinox, in fact, does not. They get this one verse out of Enoch, right? And in Enoch it says, on the day equalized, that's when you will start the year. Well, that means to me on the day that has 12 hours a day and 12 hours at night. And then I believe Jesus confirms that. And then he confirms Rosh Hashanah when he sits still for 2 days. So anyway, let me get back to the pictures. All right. Are there not 12 hours in a day? Yes, there are, in fact, 12 hours a day on March the 16th. And I've showed you this before. 200 years ago, 250 years ago, it was 12 hours a day and 12 hours a night on March the 16th. And 600 years from now, 12 hours a day and 12 hours at night. This, in fact, does happen on March 16th. It always happens. It will always happen. This is where you start your year on March the 17th, the next day. So, all right. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall. Oh, there's the Exodus 12 verse that I was talking about. This is where God moves Rosh Hashanah. The first thing he does before he ever calls the seventh month and first day as the Feast of Trumpets, before he ever does that, he moves Rosh Hashanah from that day back 6 months, and they had to wait a whole other 6 months before the year turned. So, or forward, it turns the year. It's 5783 right now. Will not be 5784 until we get back to March the 17th. Otherwise, the Psalms 83 war that we are witnessing, watching happen, would have happened in the year 5784. But Psalms 83 wouldn't have matched. You see what I'm saying? It had to match. So it did not change in September when in October Israel was attacked. It is going to change in March, fulfilling the Psalms 83. And like New News will keep reporting, what's his name? New News. I'm the worst with names. I'm absolutely the worst with names. I'm good with numbers and timelines. I am just the worst with names. Ross. Is it Ross? I think it's Ross. Ross is equating the Psalms 83 war and when they shall say peace and safety, which again blew my mind when he said that. We're looking for this whole, bizarre peace and safety thing that we're waiting for. And it just turns out that it's when the people who lived on the southern part of Israel get to return home. They will be saying peace and safety as soon as the Gaza issue is resolved, which isn't very far away. And the second they're allowed to go back home, which again is not very far away, I think they're going into Rafah now. And when they do, they're going to clear that up, get all of the people back and the hostages back, and then they're going to allow these Jews to go back home in the southern part of Israel because Gaza will be wiped out, just like the Bible said it would be. All right, let me get back into the pictures. I got to hurry because I need to get in there by 7. All right, so I showed you that. Again, Rosh Hashanah is 2 days long. Feast of Trumpets is 1 day long. This is the day that no man knows the day or the hour. This is the day I think that the rapture could very well occur on March the 16th. It is the last day. This year, March the 16th will land on a Saturday, setting up the Sabbaths for the entire year. So all year long, the Sabbath will occur on Saturday this year. Last year, I think it was Thursday. All right, what is this? Oh, so Moses dies on February the 21st. Moses? Yeah, Moses dies on February the 21st. The first day would be February the 22nd. Going up to, now it says not including March 26th, which is the day that Jesus rode in On the triumphant entry, again, like I said, it might very well be the 22nd. The 23rd would be the first day, including March the 26th. But 30 days they mourned for Moses, and I think it took them 3 days to cross over into the promised land. So that is very interesting. That is 10 days after I think that we're probably going to be out of here. But could this be speaking to the tribulation saints? I don't know. Have you all noticed? Have you all noticed that people are choosing their side right now? And it seems to upset a lot of us, uh, not me, but it seems to upset a lot of people who are on YouTube and working on this, in that they're saying, why are there pre-terrorists? How do they not know that this is a pre-tribulational rapture by now? And they go through this thing that they're working out in their mind, and I'm like, listen, they're choosing sides. They are choosing sides right now. There are those who don't believe in a pre-tribulational rapture, are not interested in it, are not watching, don't believe it's going to happen, and they are going to be absolutely shocked when the rapture occurs. I won't be shocked. Most of you watching this will not be shocked on that day when it occurs because we're watching for it. We're turning over every stone. We're searching. We're shaking every present. We're carrying our piece of the puzzle. And so we're all dreaming of this moment. I don't know about you, but I've actually had dreams of this mansion in heaven. It is so cool. I've talked about it before. You walk out the front door, you look back, you're looking at your mansion. You go inside your mansion at the back, there's this huge archway. And through it, like almost like a waterfall, it's kind of you can see everything out there. But when you walk, you're not walking through water, but you walk through this portal. I don't even know how to describe what I saw in my dream, but you walk through this portal and you're suddenly connected to every other mansion. And you don't have to get in your car and drive 1,000 miles to your friend's house or his mansion because he's got a huge piece of property somewhere else. No, you walk out the back door and there's his back door. It's the coolest thing. Okay, anyway, let me get back into the pictures. So, is March the 26th super important for the tribulation saints? I don't know. Did you know this? I think Steve Fletcher brought this out. I believe this was Steve Fletcher that came out with this. Did you know that Billy Graham died the same day that Moses died? Is that not incredible? I know I've seen comments, oh, he was this and he was that. We can't really do that because we can't really judge because we don't really know. You know, I don't really watch his son very much because I've heard some works-based stuff that he's spoken of. But Billy Graham, one of the greatest evangelists our world has ever seen, has died on the same day as Moses, and he died, what, is this 6 years ago now? 6 years ago. Is that not incredible? All right. Revelation Watchman is a brand new Watchman that if I don't know how long he's been on, but he's brand new. And I watched his video and I find it very telling that he's coming to February the 29th, which I see as Purim, but he's gotten to this date in a different way. And that's why I'm telling you, everyone has a piece of this puzzle. Mathematically, he lands on February the 29th. So I would encourage you to go and subscribe to Revelation Watchman and then like his videos so this can get out there and be here after the rapture to help the tribulation saints. So please go subscribe to him. His last video was amazing. I love this type of math. That's not what I do. I do timelines. I find verses and dates in the Bible and I apply them to the timeline, and then I do math between dates. And but these guys do straight math using the 1260, 1290, and 1335, and he lands on February the 29th, which blows my mind that he does. Here he is, Last Days Awakening. He is going live at 7 o'clock. Like I said, if you're watching this and it is now 7 o'clock, please leave. You can come back and watch it at any time. I'm going to be in here asking dumb questions like everybody else, trying to think about and understand where he's coming from. Again, he's an actual preacher, just like Garrett, the news guy below him. They're all both actual preachers, and it is so refreshing to see an actual preacher not care about the money plate and actually care about what they know to be true. And I have a feeling that there are a lot of preachers out there who know that the rapture is about to occur, or they've heard about it, but they kind of put it on the back burner because if they brought it out to their congregation, then they would lose people putting money in the plate. They probably all, if you're just now hearing about this, I would never suggest you go sell anything. Don't sell anything. Don't do anything. Occupy and maintain until the Lord returns for us. That way, if He meant for you, and I'm telling you, when the rapture occurs, wherever you are is where He meant you to be. It's going to be that precise, that perfect. You'll be at work, you'll be at home, you'll be asleep, you'll be in the bathroom, you'll be somewhere in the mall, you'll be somewhere where the Lord wants you to be seen by somebody else who has heard you say, "When you see me go." When you see me go, it's probably the most profound thing you can say to anybody, because when they actually do see you go, they're going to know exactly what just happened. It won't come as a surprise. They won't say, it must have been aliens, because nobody ever told me when you see me go. Don't overstress about people who laugh at you or ignore you. Happens all the time. I have thick skin, so it doesn't bother me a bit. So, um, but if you said it to them, which is the most important thing, they might not react. They might give you the reaction you want. I mean, who wouldn't want somebody just fall on their knees crying in front of you asking, what do I need to do? Wouldn't that be amazing? But that's not what's going to happen. But it's going to stick. It's a mustard seed. It's going to stick in the back of their mind. And when they see you go, they're going to say, I know exactly what just happened. All right, let me get back into this. Last Day's Awakening. And again, I'll be there at 7. Now, check this out. Okay? No, not this. Next. But this is important. So, Jonah arose and went into Nineveh according to the word of the Lord. Now, Nineveh was an exceeding great city of 3 days' journey. That's how big it was. It took 3 days to cross the city walking. And Jonah began to enter into the city a day's journey, and he cried and said, Yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. Remember what I showed you on February the 29th on Purim. It is 40 days from the eclipse that's going to happen. Is that the sign that God gives to the wicked generation? The wicked generation is those who are not looking forward to Jesus returning, those who don't think this event's going to take place. And I'm not saying because they're not watching or looking for this event and it's in the back of their mind and it's not something that they're focused on, that somebody's not saved. There is a huge difference between being saved and going into one of these dispensations. What are the dispensations? The dispensation of the bride is saved from hellfire. The dispensation of the tribulation saint is saved from hellfire. The dispensation of those that go into the millennium and live, still continue in minor sin, but still sinful in human bodies, who at the end will have to make a clear-cut choice at the white throne judgment. Those, for those 1,000 years, can die. They will die. They will live a lot longer, a lot healthier, but nonetheless, ultimately, you cannot be in the presence of God until you have made a clear choice to accept the blood of Jesus Christ and everything He did for us without us even knowing initially, and now that we do know why. But He did. So it's a free gift. You just accept it. But is this the moment here on Purim, where this sign will be given to that wicked generation? Are we raptured out of here on February the 29th? Will there be a warning that we will see on February the 22nd, tomorrow? I don't know. These are just guesses. We're just guessing, trying to figure this out. Now, not only did Nineveh listen to Jonah, Jonah hated them. Jonah wanted them to die. He did not want to warn them. We know about the whole story, right? But not only did they listen, they will be risen at the end to judge this generation. The men of Nineveh shall rise in judgment with this generation and shall condemn it because they repented at the preaching of Jonah. And behold, a greater than Jonah is here. So, isn't that telling? God not only changed his mind to destroy them, he repented, the Bible says, which means he changed his mind. He turned from what he was going to do to what he actually didn't do. And not only that, but these people will be risen again at the end to judge all of those who are wicked. There's some wicked people out there, some very wicked, and a lot of us were wicked at one point, but now we are saved from that wickedness, saved from hellfire. All right. This is what Last Days Awakening, I hope he talks about tonight, blew my mind when he said it. And then, of course, I went in to study it. You know the story. And the angel of the Lord spake unto Philip, saying, Arise. There's an angel speaking to Philip. He tells Philip, Arise, and go towards the south unto the way that goeth down from Jerusalem unto Gaza. There's Gaza, which is desert. And he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia, a eunuch of great authority under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who had the charge of all her treasure, and had come to Jerusalem for to worship, was returning and sitting in his chariot, reading Esaias, which is Elijah the prophet. Then the Spirit said unto Philip, Spirit, this angel is still walking with Philip, go near and join thyself to his chariot. And Philip ran up to him and heard him read the prophet Elijah, Esaias. I guess that's Elijah, and said, Understandest thou what thou readest? And he said, How can I, except some man should guide me? And he desired Philip that he would come up and sit with him. So he's reading. This is like so many of us when we first start reading the Bible, we don't understand the deeper meanings. We just read the words and slowly but slowly, you know it's true. Every single person, every single one of you has been reading the Bible and then gone back to a verse and said, Oh my goodness, I never saw this before. This is brand new. God is opening up. He's peeling away the scales. You're beginning to understand what you're reading. You're beginning to see the deeper meanings of what's being spoken of to you. You'll gloss over this story and not see it, but I'm about to show you something that'll blow your mind. The place of the scripture which he read was this: He was led as a sheep to the slaughter, and like a lamb dumb before his shearer, so openeth he not his mouth. In his humiliation, his judgment was taken away. And who shall declare this his generation? For his life is taken from the earth. And the eunuch answered Philip and said, I pray thee, of whom speaketh the prophet of this? Now, this is where we come in, okay? This is our job, and Philip is doing his job. This guy, this eunuch, wants to know, who is this that was judged on behalf of other people, who took on the sins of the whole world and died? Who is this? And the eunuch answered Philip and said, I pray thee, of whom speaketh the prophet this? Of himself or of some other man? Then Philip opened his mouth and began at the same scripture and preached unto him Jesus. And as they went on their way, they came unto a certain water, and the eunuch said, See, here is water. What doth hinder me to be baptized? He already heard the word. He already believes the word. He is already saved. Now he wants to express what's going on in his heart. He wants to be baptized. And Philip said, If thou believest with all thine heart, thou mayest. And he answered and said, I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Boom, boom. You got to know how Philip must have felt in the very early days when nobody understood the things that they read and how to apply them and the deeper meanings when this eunuch says, I believe. This is amazing. And he commanded the chariot to stand still, and they both went into the water, both Philip and the eunuch, and he baptized him. And when they were come up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord caught away Philip. Huh. That the eunuch saw him no more, and he went on his way rejoicing. But Philip was found at Azotus. The passing through, he preached in all the cities till he came to Caesarea. So we read this. Now there's a deeper meaning. And that is why I want you to watch this guy at 7 o'clock, because this is what I hope he talks about. I got an email from him. I didn't know who it was at first, uh, but I had made a comment that is incredible what you just found. Notice how Philip has been moved. He's caught away. He is raptured, but he's not raptured to heaven. He's raptured to a new location. And Pastor Jimmy, has said that this is why we have this example. See, we have these examples in the Bible. We have these examples of First Thessalonians. That is a rapture. We have the example of Second Thessalonians, where we see before they are gathered, they must see this great rapture occur and the man of sin be revealed. That's what it says. And we have wrestled and struggled with this passage for so long. Second Thessalonians is not a rapture verse. It is a gathering verse. Everybody misses the word gathering and keeps on reading and say, so is it pre-tribulation, or do we have to see the man of sin be revealed and this great falling away? And the answer is yes, for the tribulation saint. The tribulation saint will see. That's annoying. No, still does it. Okay. Maybe I can get rid of a lot of that. The tribulation saint will see this rapture, the great apostasy, the great falling away. Every church that has a Jesus believing, saved Christian in it, no works, just Jesus, saved people will fall away. They will be raptured. There will be none of those people in the church. What's left behind are the works-based people who think they had to do something. The eunuch got baptized. That's when he was saved. No, he wasn't. He was saved the moment he confessed Jesus Christ was God. He got baptized. That is annoying. He got baptized when, as an outward expression of what was going on in his heart, he was already saved. He was saved the moment he confessed that. That is the moment of salvation. It is not the moment of his baptism. So, Second Thessalonians is not speaking of a rapture of the bride. First Thessalonians is. Second Thessalonians speaking of a gathering of the saints is different. That word gather, when you go into Strong's, is not the word rapture. It is the word gather. So, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Syria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Does that not sound? And this is where my mind is blown. Pastor Jimmy has equated that to Philip, stating that the Jews are going to be gathered from around the world and shot back to Israel, just like Philip. And we have the perfect example in Philip. God moved him after he baptized the eunuch, just moved him. I'd like to know how far he moved him. I'd like to know where he was. We know he was on his way to Gaza, and then we have that other city. I don't know how many miles that is, but he moved him. And the Jews are not going to jump on an airplane to go back to Israel. They are going to be transferred over to Israel from all around the world by the mighty hand of God, just like he did Philip. And I don't know where to go from there. That's incredible. Again, I hope he talks about it tonight, but that's incredible. That's incredible. we're watching. Oh, there's another 1,000 Jews flying to Israel. They all have to go. They have it in their hearts. No, God's going to take them and move them there. He's going to take them and move them there, just like he moved Philip. Now you have the rapture of the bride. You have the gathering of the saints, which you see in Seal 6 when they appear in heaven. John's like, who are these? I don't know. Who are these? Oh, these are those who were gathered. Gathered. It's a different word. They weren't raptured, they were gathered. And then all of a sudden, you have all the Jews in Israel. It's absolutely mind blowing. Absolutely mind blowing what he came up with. All right. So, oh, that's it. That's all of it. What time is it? 6:06. I'm going to go upload this. Again, if you begin watching this, I said it from the very beginning, all the way to the end. I'll be in the live chat, and this will be. I'd love to see a study on this. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. This is the pieces of the puzzle that some will mock, and that's fine. We know who they are. Some will go, wow, that's incredible. And that's the piece of the puzzle. We're all gathering these pieces and say, this one said this and this one said that and that. And you build this whole puzzle. You can see the whole picture coming. And so all I can say is keep watching. We're so, ever so close. Everything that we ever studied is running out now. The 80 years for this and the 2,000 years since Jesus and uh, all of the things that we're seeing take place and stuff, black halos around the sun and white rainbows and black rainbows. There's just so many things going on. I personally haven't walked outside and seen anything like that, but you know, we see it all over the internet. Things that are happening around the world, incredible. They said that there was a comment made that the Bible says that the birds, the flesh-eating birds, will eat the flesh. Come on, that God says, come on, come get you some. The flesh of kings and higher ups and the wealthy. It's going to be a feast that's made unto you. And then somebody made the comment, there's none of those kind of birds in Israel. Guess what? Just arrived in Israel, those kind of birds. They are waiting for their moment. God is multiplying them, and they're waiting for their moment to feast on the flesh of kings and wealthy people and poor alike as well. So it's going to be, it's all coming together. We're seeing it all come together. So go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know. You don't need to tell anybody. And accept the Lord into your heart. And after you do, I bet you that eunuch, the moment he was saved, when he professed Jesus Christ as the Son of God, then he had that outward expression of wanting to be baptized. Baptism doesn't save. He was already saved. I want to clarify that. He was already saved the moment he confessed that. He didn't have to get baptized. He didn't. But that's a jewel in his crown that he wanted to express that. So imagine what he did. He ran and told everybody. Philip just disappeared right in front of me. I don't know where he went. He was there 1 second. The next second he was gone. I got baptized because I want to show God now that he saved me, that, well, he made the right decision. Of course he made the right decision, but I, I want him to know that I know he made the right decision. So, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And please go subscribe to those channels I showed you. Anytime I find somebody like that, again, his channel's bigger than mine. And hey, these gems are everywhere. And if you know of a channel that I have not promoted, um, let me know. And I will go watch their content and see if like I told Jimmy in the email, I said, it's not very often that somebody blows my mind with a piece of information. It's not very often, but it still happens, and it's incredible when it does. And that just was mind blowing. See, we never knew where to tie Philip to. We knew where all the other examples of rapture, Elijah and Elisha and Enoch, and all of the things that we've seen happen. But then to be able to tie Philip to the Jews, wow! I mean, seriously, wow. So I think I said everything. All right, we will chat with you uh, in the comment section. or in Discord if you want to go in there. Go into Discord and we can chat in there. Watchman Patrick from End Time Watchman now has a room in there. My Discord's set up a little differently. I actually only have a room in there. Other people run the whole thing. Just because it has my name at the top doesn't mean anything. Uh, Philip, Patrick is in there, and him and several others are doing all kinds of math that I go into his room now and read and watch, and it's absolutely amazing. If you want to talk directly with him or get any information on how he comes up with his dates and times, you can do that in the Discord. Talk directly with Patrick in his room. He has, like I said, he has a room. We have several. We have so many rooms you can go in. A lot of discussion. Gina has the newsroom, so I find most of my news from Gina in there. And of course, we have Sister Sandy in there, who's responsible for putting my timeline taking it out of crayon and putting it into the way it currently looks. And if anybody wants to see that, I post it in my room every now and again. Um, all right, we will chat with you again later, or something huge happens tomorrow. I'll be right back on here.